Welcome back, everyone, to Random Thoughts. We're coming to you today with kind of I don't want to say a one-off topic, because this is very much a recurring topic, both on stream, in Discord, and in a number of other locations for Phobies. What is that? Well, we're going to be talking about the usual free-to-play game economy in skins. So what are skins? For the uninitiated, they would be a modification of how a given character looks. You can commonly see this in MOBAs, and while they maybe weren't necessarily the first game to invent this or actually originate it, they have absolutely championed it and years ago. And at this point, it is very much the common or most common free-to-play way to try and extract money so that you can still justify having a free-to-play game. Keep those whales being whales. They got to keep sinking money in order to buoy all of the aforementioned free-to-play players. You can't have a game without both, realistically, given the model that is chosen. Now, brief history lesson aside, what the hell does that have to do with Phobies? Quick aside, everybody, before we get into the actual content, I was accepted into the Phobies Content Affiliate Program, the content creator program, you might call it. Shout out to the Phobies team, and thank you for that. But the reason I'm telling you, everybody out there, dear viewer, dear listener, is to let everybody know that I do receive some compensation from the Phobies team as a result of being part of that program. Now, I loved Phobies before, and I still love Phobies now, and I expect I will still continue to love Phobies in the future. So look forward to more Phobies content coming from Random Thoughts. So now, on with the show. Well, right now there are no skins. How do you make money as Smoking Gun in this game? Well, it's coffee-related things. Packs, okay, that makes sense. The Phobies are acquired in packs. In order to get new Phobies, get the upgrade cards you want, get the experience, you have to buy packs or grind the hell out of the game, thereby keeping players in the ecosystem. Remember, if it's a free-to-play game, you are not buying a product. You are the product, generally. You are being offered up to the whales who are sinking in money. Now, as you would have seen at the beginning of this video, I am part of the content affiliate program, but this is just reality. This is not me having super secret insider information. This should be old news to anybody listening to this or watching it. But how else does Phobies make money? Well, they can sell avatars. Some are actual money, some are coffee, some are tiers. There are, of course, the subscription, which was recently introduced, as well as other things that you can spend in-game currency on or actual money. So why have this other revenue stream? Well, a lot of people are asking for it, truthfully. That's right off the bat. Are we trying to please the customer? Well, when possible, right? You want to keep your customers happy. And this is one way to do it, because having a slightly different looking Contortio or Cassowary, or even if you get all the way down here, Hevo 3.0 specifically, pick an arbitrary Phobie. What if it looked a little bit different? That'd be cool, right? Get a little something different. There's a lot to Phobies aside from the enormous depth in the strategy, the incredible gameplay. There's also fun things in Phobies like Dozer. Let's be real, Dozer's funny. So is Barzilla. The word on the street is that he's big in Japan. I've heard some things. The bottom line is that there's a variety of reasons that people would become attached to Phobies, individual Phobies, or Phobies as a whole. Adding skins only allows for more of that, because you can personalize your Phobies collection to a greater degree than you do currently. Obviously, it's just acquiring more stuff, and it's more. Now it's more or different, or both. So it gives players something else to do, specifically when it comes to spending money. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be money. It could be in-game currency, and it gives you another resource sink. Thereby, eventually, you're going to have to put in more money. So you get the win for the company, you get the win for the players. What's the catch? What's the problem? There's actually a few. And personally, if you made it this far, this is my opinion. I don't think we're going to get skins. I don't know that we ever will. I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but I don't think it's going to happen. One, it's an additional strain on the art team. Now, you could say, well, yes, that's what they're paying the artists to do, but it's still a job, and depending on how many skins or what the budget is, or there's a variety of factors that are the boring business part of this, that it may not be feasible. because artists deserve to get paid. And if you can't pay them, you don't get the skins. And if you can't, because remember, it's not just making Electrocat look different, which we'll get to momentarily. It's not making Sucky, like neon blue. It's not just that. You possibly have additional animations. You still have to code it into the game. You still have to run it through all of the checks and balances and ensuring that it's still compliant and that it doesn't break this weird thing because for some reason, Squiggle's pink color here is it's what holds the entire new map set together. I'm not saying that's the case, but believe me, I've been playing games for a long time and there has been weirder stuff. World of Warcraft for the longest time, and I don't know if this is still true, could not change the backpack size because it was hard-coded as a baseline assumption for the game, and if they changed it, the game would crash. What? Like, that's insane. But that's the sort of thing we're talking about where it's potentially possible that doing this upsets some sort of balance, and all of a sudden, there are problems everywhere. So, it seems simple, but nothing in gaming, game design, game creation, game development, game production is actually simple. That's problem number one. Problem number two is actually going to come in here with Kerbloom, or Boom, or Kaboom. There are other examples, of course, the Droney series, the Hevo series, the Jinstings of the world. Why do those matter? We already have palette swaps. What do I mean by palette swaps? Well, if you look at Kerbloom there, that just went away, and then you look at Boom here, guess what? They're the same model. It relieves some of the strain on the art team, on the development, so that way they made multiple Phobies that are basically the same Phobie. You change some numbers, voila, you change the color. Guess what? It's like Mortal Kombat 1 all over again. Scorpion, Reptile, and Sub-Zero, they're all palette swaps, and I guess technically Error Mac, because, Error Macro. And that continued throughout the Mortal Kombat series, and that's just one of my favorite games, why I'm calling it out. It's not the only game that does this stuff. Phobies in Mortal Kombat they didn't suddenly figure something out that no one else did. There are tons of games that use palette swaps in order to save on time, both development, artistically, etc. This is probably the main reason you can't have skins. Because while you could always say, well, the player can just click on the Electrocat, the Razor Mouth, the Hermetic Jinsting, the Jinsting, because here's the problem. What if both Jinstings have a blue skin? This is putting aside that there are people that may be colorblind or have difficulty with some of the existing silhouettes. But it's a common problem calling back to MOBAs where the expectation is that at a glance you can look at the gameplay and say, yes, that is this and that is that. And they are not the same, even though they look the same or similar. And in Phobies, right now, a lot of these things are differentiated by specific colors. Yes, the attack animations or the movement or the idle might be different, but you need people to be able to look at the board and say, yes, that is a Razor Cat, not an Electrocat, or hypothetical third cat that shows up later. You need to know that it is Flopsy, Mopsy, or Cottontail. You need to know which Droney series it is, which Hevo, Boom, Kerbloom, etc. All of a sudden, if you have two blue Jinstings, that's not going to end well as far as identifying which Phobie is which. And when we're talking Arena specifically, obviously in Async, you could have a little more time to examine the board. But in Arena, that's just one more click, and we've all had, anybody who's played Arena will tell you, there's plenty of times where you go all the way to the time limit, and then all of a sudden, whoops, I'm out of time. It happens, and there's not much you can do about that, and adding additional strain onto those scenarios is going to create feel bads. So that's part of the problem. That's why in the past I have suggested the idea that there are hats. Quite literally. Put a little hat on everything. It's even funnier if the Phobie in question, such as Poison Ivy, doesn't actually have or necessarily have a head to put the hat on. To me, that's hilarious. You give it a little derby, you give it a sombrero, you give it a visor, you give it whatever, and then the little hats can go on there. Maybe you have to buy them per Phobie, whatever. It doesn't even necessarily have to be animated well. That may not work, and it may not fit with the Phobies team's idea of how the game should look, how it should play, and that's fine. That idea could be terrible. Maybe it doesn't work from the business perspective as we were describing earlier, because you still have to pay for those things to be designed and then implemented into the game. Now, there were some comments earlier, because this discussion did come up as mentioned many times before, including tonight on the live stream, which, by the way, if you made it this far, hit up the Random Thoughts Discord in the description. And likes and subscribes, of course, do help. They really do. I got to get the YouTube pitch in. One of the suggestions came up, what if we had custom frames, custom portraits? This was more so in the context of tournament mode, which is another discussion that I want to do a video on. But imagine if there were certain portraits that you could get only from tournament mode, or aside from these, that they were on the card, or some other way that it highlighted the phobie when it was accessed, but doesn't make the phobie look different when it's on the board. So, you know, when you pull up the art for Jin Sting, because you clicked on it, since we're looking at Stabby, say we get a new Stabby skin, makes him look more like Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas. Just throwing it out there. Maybe that's a thing. What if that when you clicked on Stabby in game, it pulled up a different portrait because you bought the alt art Stabby? I think that would be pretty cool. Maybe they even let you straight up just buy a phobie, not have to buy packs. Just throwing that out there. Maybe. I highly doubt it. But I also doubt that this idea is going to happen in general. I think it's better suited, the portraits and the borders and things like that, for tournament mode, which again is another discussion. Bringing it back to the original point, do I think that there will be skins in Phobies? Probably not. I won't say it's impossible, but I highly anticipate that it will not see the light of day because it's going to cause problems from a usability gameplay perspective, because the bulk, the majority, the enormous huge swath of players in this game are not hardcore. They don't log in and play to max every day. They don't climb the ladder all the way up there. In fact, most of the game, just like every other game on the face of the earth, is casual players, because there's always going to be more of them than there are of the hardcore players. They are the ones that log in when they're pooping, when they're on their commute, hopefully not while they're driving, like, you know, on parts of the train or something. Well, they're just, you know, they're waiting for somebody and they're just playing a game on their phone real quick, doing async. And if they log in and they suddenly can't recognize what the hell is happening, even if you put up these big splashes in client, you make a big deal out of it, and maybe some of them will pick up on it, but there are tons of people that will just check out as soon as there is some sort of resistance. I haven't played Phobies in 2 weeks. I really want to play Phobies, but I was working, you know, I had a lot of work, so I finally get to play. I log back in. Why does none of my stuff work the way that it used to? Why does this look so much different? Maybe this game isn't quite what I remember it being. And that's when you start losing people. And that's the problem, because it's a free-to-play game. You need a wide base, both so that you have a larger chance of pulling in those whales, but also so that you have people to offer up to said whales as opponents. And of course, every once in a while, the people that are more casual, that don't fit the whale category, are chipping in a few bucks here and there. The bottom line is that you do need to balance these things, and I think that that is going to be the biggest challenge. So what do you think out there? Do you think that there will be skins? Would you want to see skins? Do you think any of this is even a problem? Let me know down in the comments. And of course, as mentioned before, the likes and subscribes do help, and you can check all the socials down there. But that's going to do it for this one. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.